Hey, did you know that the Rams' Jonah Jackson makes $1 million more per year than Christian McCaffrey? This is RamView.
It's hot out there, but let's blow him off the line of scrimmage. Hang on one thing.
Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the March 13th, 2024 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word. KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And of course, by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And by Granite Ridge Christian Camp, a place where your life can change. So I was not on this afternoon. I was out early. I'm driving around. I got stuff to do, meetings to go to, people have to buy me lunch. I like the way that sounds. They bought me lunch. And I caught a riff from Coward. And hey, I still say Coward's the best behind a microphone talking sports, because his show does talk sports. You just don't have to agree with him all the time. And on this one, I didn't. He was taking a victory lap talking about how running backs are back and everyone's signing running backs. And I'm like, no. They're signing running backs because they're cheap, right? Christian McCaffrey, right? One of the most talented, versatile backs in the NFL, maybe in modern NFL history. He makes 16 rocks a year. Hey, we should all make 16 rocks a year. But he makes the same as Kevin Dotson, the Rams' right guard, who nobody can pick out of a lineup probably, and less than Jonah Jackson, the Rams' new left guard, who makes 17 rocks a year. Running backs are getting signed, but they're getting signed for peanuts. There are 32 teams in the NFL, and only 6 of those guys are making double digits in terms of over 10 rocks or more a season. And again, those guys are still making less than Jonah Jackson, Quentin Nelson. They're making less than players all over the league in positions, centers in some cases, linebackers. They're making less than that. And these are running backs. Running backs are never going to go away, but to say running backs are back and it's all cyclical, you're never going to see a running back. I'd be stunned outside of cost of living, cap increases. You're never going to see them jump to the top of the market again. They're not even inside the top 60 highest paid players in the NFL. I believe that's the number right now. And so there's certain positions that are getting phased out. You should never overpay for a running back. Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, they got close. Let's give the 49ers credit for that. I know it pains Rams fans. I'm probably going to lose a listener or two for that. But they've gotten to the Super Bowl and they've gotten to a conference final. But McCaffrey didn't get them over the top when their quarterback went down. Alvin Kamara makes 15 rocks. Would you want Alvin Kamara for 15 rocks? Jonathan Taylor is making 14 rocks a year. I like Jonathan Taylor, but I kind of like Kyrene Williams, don't you? And I like Kyrene Williams' price. Saquon Barkley, who signed with the Eagles, and everyone's all in love with this deal. I know he's a good back. All these guys are good backs. But because they were drafted in the first round, except for Kamara wasn't, do you really think they're game changers? Is Saquon Barkley a game changer? I just don't see him as a game changer. I think he's a really good back, and they're paying him 12.5 rocks a year for the next 3 years in Philly. Nick Chubb's a really good back. Cleveland went to the playoffs without him, and they're paying him 12.2 this year. And they got an interesting deal with Josh Jacobs up in Green Bay. They're giving him 12 rocks. I think, to me, 10 to 12 rocks would be the max I pay a great running back. Again, something to think about in terms of where the NFL is at nowadays. Just like we were talking about with safeties, right? We talked about, I think it was last week, we talked about how most people are playing the Fangio too high, where where you line up your defense, your front seven, someplace in Inglewood, and you put your safeties someplace out in Hawthorne, and so they're not paying safeties anymore. They're just not going to be paid. In fact, when I see a first-round draft projection of a safety, unless that dude's Kyle Hamilton, I think you're crazy to draft a safety in the first round. I think he better be Jahmyr Gibbs, and we're going to see what Jahmyr Gibbs is over the next couple of years. But it's going to have to be a rare talent at running back that gets drafted in the first round. And I have to believe this too. All those guys that are talented with the ball in their hands, they all want to move to wide receiver, and they ain't going to move to running back unless they, manos de piedra, they got hands of stone. Just something to think about. So I disagree with Coward on that. I don't think the running back will ever be at the top of the food chain again, or at least not for a long, long time. Looking at Rams stuff that kind of broke, the Rams officially put a second-round tender on Alaric Jackson. That'll pay him up to 4.8 rocks a year. My feeling is right now that he's going to be the guy, and the reason is because they signed Darius Williams with a contract that can make up to $30 million, but it's more like 3 years, 22.5, which again I think it's a good deal for the Rams. Notice the Rams finally did tender Michael Hoyt, which that's a good deal too. He's a depth piece. We don't want him starting at edge, but he's a depth piece that could also put his hand in the ground. You got to love football players like Michael Hoyt. But based on all these and the Rams signings, they don't have much room, if not any, left under the salary cap. So, yeah, there is a possibility of a restructure, and that's something I think they're going to have to do anyway, just because they're going to need dough for this year's draft class. And so I'm beginning with all that said, the signing of Darius Williams makes me think that, the Rams, I think the Rams really liked Kobe Durant. I think they're going to look at last year as maybe an anomaly with him or kind of like just something that they didn't expect. I think the Rams might very well go into the season with Darius Williams and Kobe Durant unless they find something in the draft. But the more and more I look at it now, and you look at the edge market has gone bye-bye. The Chargers restructured Khalil Mack, so he's not going to be in the street. And again, right now, I don't think the Rams have the money. Danielle Hunter got signed by the Texans. They're going to pair him up with Will Anderson. That's a nice deal. Brian Burns is off the market. He got sent to the Giants, and I'm happy about that. I'm not a Brian Burns guy. I'm more Josh Allen from the Jaguars. So I'm beginning to think more and more it could be an edge. And where I was very doubtful on Leatu Latu, the UCLA guy, I'm thinking it could be a possibility right now. Once again, we shared it on Monday that the official draft order came out. Rams have 11 picks 19, 52, 83, at 98. At first it was projected at 100, but it came in officially at 98. That's the compensatory for Raheem Morris. And then you got 153, 154, 195, 209, 213, 217, and Rams are in the seventh round where they didn't look like they were going to be. They're in the seventh round at 254. Rams kind of pick up value quite often in the 250s, and so it'll be interesting to see. Also, I do want to bring up that faithful listener, loyal RamView follower, Tim Burns up in NorCal, had mentioned a couple weeks ago that he sees the Rams trading into the fourth round. I don't want to steal anyone's thunder that he saw the Rams trading the fourth round because at the time, going 52 picks without taking anybody in the fourth round seemed kind of far-fetched. Now it's like 55 picks and missing the entire fourth round. I can see the Rams doing something, maybe to move up and get something they like. Just wanted to throw that out there as a possibility. Okay, around the NFL and other places, Daniel Hunter, that speculation for the Rams go in after him, he seemed to pick up a lot of steam. But he goes to Houston, 2 years, 49 rocks, 48 guaranteed. That would have been a doable deal for the Rams, but they didn't want him. Derrick Henry is projected to go 2 years for 16 rocks in Baltimore. That's King Henry, right? That's King Henry. And you notice when I read the running backs list, I mentioned McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, and Josh Jacobs. I didn't mention Derrick Henry. He's King Henry, right? He's been one of the best, if not the best running back running the ball in the league for the last 4 or 5 years. And he's getting 8 rocks a year in Baltimore. Just, again, something to think about there when it comes to running backs. Free agent signings, just keep adding these as we go along. Gardner Minshew to Las Vegas. That's great. Minshew is just, he's always going to get a job. Good for him. It'll be interesting to see, is it really going to be Aiden O'Connell, or is it going to be somebody else that Minshew will mentor in Las Vegas? We talked about it the other day, I think, or did we talk about it in supplemental? I don't think we did. Joe Mixon going to Houston. First, it said Joe Mixon was cut, and then I think they worked out a deal to where he went to the Houston Texans. What a great move for the Houston Texans, right? Not only do you got Nico Collins, Tank Dell, they brought back Dalton Schultz. He's got some hands issues there, but he's quality tight end. And then they let Devin Singletary walk to – where do you go? Do you go to the Giants? And then they bring in Joe Mixon from Cincy to go with C.J. Stroud. That's you better start watching the Houston Texans. Aaron Jones goes to Minnesota along with Sam Darnold. And so they're making moves there. Andrew Van Ginkel, edge guy, goes to Minnesota. So they're making moves there in Northman land. I think they're going to be vulnerable. It's going to be interesting to see. They got kind of a tough schedule. We'll see where they're at. Shaq Barrett signs with the Dolphins. Eric Kendricks signs with Frisco. Leonard Floyd signed with Frisco. They put Eric Armstead in the street. It's interesting to see what's going on there up in the Bay Area. Speaking of Austin Hooper going to the Patriots, Jordan Poyer going to Miami, longtime Buffalo guy. Speaking of former Rams, A'Shawn Robinson signed with the Panthers at 3 years, 22.5. Former Ram Dante Fowler signed with the Redskins. And I'm running down the list here. There were some other ones here. Brandon Powell, former Ram, re-signed with the Vikings. The Bengals put former Ram safety Nick Scott out in the street. Steeler fan Rob, I think, is okay about this trade, but they traded Deontay Johnson to Carolina. They got Dante Jackson back to play corner, and he's an okay corner. He's okay. I don't think the Rams would turn their nose up to him. He's a fair corner. I just don't get where they're investing in corner, and they signed Patrick Queen from Pittsburgh. From Baltimore in Pittsburgh. So an inside linebacker, they're giving him 3 years, $41 million. Why are you giving that much money to an inside linebacker? I don't get it. You know, I would spend a little more money on the offensive line. Maybe I'd get another receiver to complement what's his face, Bruce Pickens. They need help in terms of that safety receiver to go to. But they're always spending money on defense. I do not get it. Speaking of Pittsburgh, former Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Mason Rudolph finally grew up and left the house, kissed the Tomlins goodbye, and has gone on the road, and he's signed with the Tennessee Titans along with Calvin Ridley. That one's pretty interesting. The Seahawks re-signed Leonard Williams. That's good for them. That's something to keep an eye on for the Rams. Levante David, linebacker. And Greg Gaines, former Ram, re-signed with Tampa Bay. Kenny Moore, cornerback that the Rams fans were talking about. I never saw any interest from the Rams, but Ram fans were mentioning Kenny Moore, the cornerback from Indianapolis. Well, he re-signed with the Colts. Raiders, after putting Jerry Tillery in the street, put Hunter Renfrow and Jimmy Garoppolo today in the street. And the Bolts put Mike Williams this morning. Mike Williams. And they saved about 20 rocks or so. They put Mike Williams in the street, and there's speculation in the Twitterverse about maybe would the Rams have any interest in Mike Williams, and I know fans would. I mean, that guy's an exceptional talent, and if you can get him for nothing, you'd think about it. And then finally, word came that the Bolts are restructuring Khalil Mack. No word on Joey Bosa. I still don't think the Chargers are completely compliant with the salary cap, the current salary cap. Again, they're another team that they had pain no matter what, but that bump in the salary cap really kept the Bolts in the land of the living and gives them opportunity to compete next year instead of being totally devastated. All right, I'm Joe Terozzi, and I was a sports writer for 21 years. And now, thanks to our sponsors, I get to do RamView, and I write books. And so by writing books and doing RamView, I get to keep my job. My day job is I pastor a small church in Burbank called Burbank Faith Nazarene. You can find us right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual .com, as well as Burbank Faith Virtual channel, Burbank Faith Virtual, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. And so we say thank you to our sponsors, Kistler Law, and of course, Temple City Auto. Be sure to favor those folks if you're interested in helping support this, besides subscribing and commenting, which we are so grateful for. We've taken like a 60 subscription jump since the end of the season that we did not expect. And I thank you guys so much for it. Check us out on Spotify if you can. And if you want to support us, check my books out on Amazon. I've written 2 high school football novels, both well received. And I got a 3rd football novel coming out that'll be involving the Rams this spring. So appreciate all the support. Usually we do questions at this time. And whoa, we did get questions. Okay, guys, I hadn't moved things around to see it. Stockton's LAP 29. You're the best Whoa, thank you, man. I don't think I've seen you. Stockton's Lap 209. You're the best Rams content creator, sir. Thank you so much, so much. I love the beginning of the video when you flick the wrist and throw the football with such focus. Thank you. Thank you. We need an edge rusher desperately. I think Clowney is our best option. This is all from Stockton. I'm not a Jadeveon Clowney fan. I'm just not. Now, again, I don't know where the Rams are going to go right now, because I got to believe they're up against the cap. So, again, the restructures are going to have to happen, I think. But where do you go, right? And if Jadeveon Clowney is the other guy, then Jadeveon Clowney is the other guy. Of course, I think he'd come in at this point at a dirt rate price. I would take Clowney before I take Chase Young. And every moment of the new season is a blessing that we have not signed Chase Young. Chase Young is fool's gold, man. Chase Young is fool's gold. I might not be a Jadeveon Clowney fan, but he's better than that. Stockton, I think Cooper DeJean will be a good safety in the NFL. Well, he's really versatile, and people like him, but I'd like to wear him out at corner before I move him to safety. He's got a little bit of a Bob Sanders build. I think he's a little thicker than Bob Sanders. Colt fans may remember Bob Sanders, one of my favorite safeties in the early decade of this century. Let's go Tim Burns. Michael Hoyt had over 200 plays dropping into coverage. Got to drop those numbers, and as a former DL, he needs to be up at the line. I agree with you. And I don't know if that was just the McVay and Raheem Morrison agreement that they had no other better option. Michael Hoyt, as a football player in the NFL, is the example of that old Christian saying, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is so weak. You just cannot put him into coverage. And how many times do we all as Ram fans just cringe last year seeing Hoyt? And again, I hate it when people take it out on Hoyt. The Rams did get away with it to get to the playoffs, but if they want to get over the hump, we cannot have Michael Hoyt as our starting edge opposite Byron Young. Let's see. Move Durant. Durant was a ghost last season. This was Stockton. Stockton. I'm sorry, you threw me off, Stockton. Does this guy ever read comments? Are you talking to me? Maybe that was something I put out later. Kobe Durant was a ghost last season. It was not a good year for Kobe Durant. It wasn't. And I think there was a lot of expectation, but I don't think he fits that star position, that slot corner position. And I think they found that guy in Quentin Lake. That is a critical position. And I think Quentin Lake showed he could play that spot. I think Kobe Durant is a boundary corner, and that is really critical. Steve Ramirez, sports writer. All right, Steve, I know you don't like drafting an edge, but seems the logical choice, I say, Latu or Chop if he's there, a CB in the second round. You know what, Steve? I think you probably ended up seeing the opening at this point. And, I think at this point, it's going there. I think it's trending that direction, that there will be an edge taken. I think if you're going to take an edge, don't you take the best one available in the first round? I don't know if you're going to get the best one available in the second round. I don't know. That's going to play this year, right? Maybe. The Rams got Byron Young last year, but I think we're in agreement there. I do think we're in agreement. My only thing about Latu is besides being an edge in the first round, is the injury history. And so I tend to lean towards Chop on that. But Latu has the production, right? Latu has the production to show and warrant being a first round pick. So something to think about. Stockton's, I want a veteran pass rusher. We don't need two young guys at the edge. Okay, I hear you on that. Did you notice Byron Young last year sometimes losing leverage there on the edge, biting a little too soon? And we need to see that growth from him. I know we want to see the sacks come up, but really, that's something that people didn't appreciate about Leonard Floyd, right? Leonard Floyd was not appreciated for the work he did holding the edge, right? He was always an 8 to 10, 9 to 10 sack guy. But yeah, holding that edge, I do agree with you there, Stockton. All right, let's see. Tim Burns, like Quinn, Floyd, and Fowler, who gets this season's benefit sack for having Donald on the other side. Yeah, I agree. Kobe Turner got a lot, the conductor last year. I think everybody gets a benefit from having Aaron Donald. That's why Greg Gaines got a contract. Maybe not so much Ashawn Robinson, but yeah, there's always a benefit to playing with Aaron Donald. And I got a thought about Aaron Donald in a minute after we get through the questions area, and I'll bring it up to you guys. That's funny. Steve Ramirez, Kendricks now apparently going to Dallas, joining. Oh, are you talking Eric Kendricks? I thought they had him going to the 49ers. So he's going to go to Dallas, huh? That's interesting. Thank you for throwing that out there. Tim Burns, Fighting Scots heading for the playoffs. Yes, they are. Tim Burns is promoing. He's become my number one promoter for my first novel, my high school football novel, Tangent Dreams. Check it out. Thank you so much, Mr. Tim Burns. All right. Bill, the draft would be a lot easier if we get an edge rusher. So you're thinking that way too. I think, yeah, I think that's the trend. Of course, the Rams could surprise us. We never know. Tim Burns, Cooper DeJean on the other corner, please. Yeah, I could see that. We want to draft one second round, I think, as Steve Ramirez suggested. Are the Rams through with Kobe Durant? I'm not going to try to fight the Darian Kendrick fight with anybody today. I know how people feel about Darian Kendrick. I have a different feeling for him, but I'm not going to fight that. If Darius Williams is one corner, Quentin Lake is the star or the slot corner, then I think the other guy is Kobe Durant, and it would be interesting to see. And also, anyone remember THT, Travius Hodges Tomlinson? And that's a guy to consider in terms of, remember last year, everyone was talking, if he was just a few inches taller, he'd have been drafted on day one. There was a lot of talk about that a year ago. All right. DHP, hope the Rams will bring out a new uniform? I hope they dust off the old yellow one. Hey, I'm all for going back to that 70s style uniform, not the blue and white. We know what we're talking about, the blue and gold. I don't get too caught up in it. If you remember after they got back to Los Angeles, they were using that old antique and then trying to use that blue and white helmet with that gold trim, and it was gross, right? I think they went from having maybe the best uniforms in their history to the worst uniforms in their history. Those uniforms in the 70s and 80s were just fantastic. And any move back that direction, I'm 100% for. I try not to get too upset. I used to hate the mustard uniforms, but I think it was the mustard uniforms they won when they beat KC in that shootout at the Coliseum in 2018. So I kind of softened on the mustard uniforms. I don't get too caught up in the uniforms, but I wish what they would do. I wish they would go back to that 70s, 80s look and leave it alone. To me, when I see teams changing uniforms for branding and trying to create more revenue that way, to me, it always looks desperate. It looks desperate. You got an icon, make that Ram helmet, that classic Ram helmet, an icon that does not change, right? Like the Dallas Star, like the Green Bay G. Just leave it there. The Chiefs, Arrowhead. leave it there and build that brand and stop farting around like you're working for Phil Steele up in Oregon. Sorry, I didn't mean to use the F word there. Okay, Bill, there's buzz about the Rams looking at Mike Williams. Do you like him? I love Mike Williams if he could stay healthy and we don't have to pay him anything, right? I think we know, right? Are we in agreement here that the way Puka Nacua plays, he's going to get banged up and miss some games? Cooper Kupp, we have to just pencil it in. He's going to miss some games, right? And then Demarcus Robinson's going to need help. Yeah, if you could find a way to add Mike Williams to this team and he understands his role for a year, he's coming off knee injury. Maybe he comes in for a real cheap price, 3 rocks or something, coming off that knee injury, and then he can go back out into the market next year, and then we get a comp pick for him. I'm amazed. And Mike Williams is about 29 years old now. He just got old so fast. Some of these guys, it's like, yeah, I want to chase a ring. I want to get a ring before I get out of here. And I'll play a little less, take a little less to be part of the experience of going to the Super Bowl with the Rams. That would be my thinking. So, yeah, I love Mike Williams. Tim Burns, fun Goff fact. Minus 30% of his losses as a Ram, his offense scored 30% of his losses as a Ram, his offense scored 30 points or more. Tim Burns, are you trying to push some more Jared Goff on me? Because I know you're a Goffite, and I'm not, I don't want to make a bunch of bad puns here, but sometimes he was Goffle as a Ram, and don't be pushing your Goff hype on me. Brian B, the Rams have spent much of their money. So unless restructuring Donald, Stafford, Cooper contracts, we need to go to the draft. I agree. I think we just talked about that. I'm probably sure you probably saw that part of the show if you clicked on later. The Rams are going to have to restructure. I think they're going to have to restructure now, whether they sign anybody else or not, because you got to get the dough in to pay for this draft class. And you're starting this draft class with first round pick and a second round pick. You're not starting it, in second and third, right? And so, they're going to need money for 11 draft picks. Of course, that's what we think it will be. We think it'll be 11 draft picks. Hey, guys, thanks for clicking. And we're going to move to the second half here. I will answer more questions if you have them at the bottom. Great questions, great talking. Somebody told me that was the best part of the show. They like talking about the questions and stuff that goes out there. So thank you very much. I have a lot of fun. And sometimes I think I know stuff, and then sometimes you guys stump me. And I try not to admit when I'm stumped. Okay, so the Rams made those deals, right? Offseason. Darius Williams, Jonah Jackson, Parkinson. It's Colby Parkinson, right? Did I say that right? And then, of course, they brought back Demarcus Robinson. And so they've made the moves. They've kept Kevin Dotson. And so we know how this works as Ram fans. So let's get ahead of the curve, because someone's going to come out and start saying, well, this team looks really good in 2024, but I'm telling you, that bill's going to come due sooner or later. It's probably going to come due in 2025. And that's, again, something for us to think about, because I can't stand the bill comes due. It's just this phrase that, Buffalo learned how to rue after they had their their Monday or Sunday night massacre when they blew everybody out of the building after mocking the Rams for their blank them draft picks approach. The bill never came due for the Rams. I know we got new listeners, and I know I sound redundant, but 2022, the Rams would have competed. It was an aberration. It was an aberration because you had a historic event occur along that offensive line where you not only had starters and second stringers injured, you had third stringers injured. You had guys from Home Depot and police academies playing on that offensive line. Do I just have to say Matt Skura? Does Matt Skura create any kind of a fear in you? Okay, so the bill never came due. And this is why we have to appreciate, it sounds like a lot of butt chirping here and butt kissing, and I don't mean to be that way. No one from the Rams has offered me a job. But the truth is, the McSnead administration knows what they're doing. And as Ram fans, we've lived in that nightmare of the Georgia, John Shaw, and all of its outgrowth. We've lived through those nightmares that we don't know how to appreciate good things. So appreciate this good thing. Outside of that run, maybe in the late 40s and through the mid 50s, This is golden era of Ram football. And the 70s were great, right? 7 NFC West titles in a row, but we only made the Super Bowl once. And this is an exceptional team and it's an exceptional organization, so we should appreciate it. And what does the Rams free agent market look like in 2025? Well, the big one is Aaron Donald, right? Aaron Donald will be a free agent in 2025 if I'm not putting the hex on anybody, if the Rams win the Super Bowl. Donald, who is 33 this season, will be going on 34, and the Rams will find themselves in a rock and a hard place, because one thing about Donald is he knows how to turn that, well, I may retire, and he very well may retire. 3 Super Bowl appearances, 2 Super Bowl titles, if everything works out. He's either going to do that, or he's going to say, you know what, I don't like making less than Chris Jones or Nick Bosa. I want a little bit more money. And that's something the Rams are going to have to contemplate. And that's just the nature of the beast. Alaric Jackson could be an issue. He gives the Rams another year like he gave them last year, or maybe just improves just a little bit more, plays a full season. He's going to be a free agent with some options, right? An ability to go somewhere, something to think about. Joe Noteboom, if he stays, but Joe Noteboom, it's looking unlikely because the Rams could put him in the street now and get 5 million rocks, right? So, Joe Noteboom would be a free agent if he stays. That's why if they did figure out a way to keep him as depth, as an insurance piece, I'm not uptight about the contract, because the contract expires after this year. It's not like you're married to him for 3 years at 20 million. It's 1 year. And the reason it's 20 million is because they restructured. Ernest Jones, that could be a big one. We like Ernest Jones. We know where the value is for an inside linebacker, but Ernest Jones has been exceptional. And I know everyone wants him extended right now. We all love Ernest Jones. Demarcus Robinson, he's going to be 29, 30 this year. We'd love Demarcus Robinson. Maybe he has a good year. Maybe he doesn't have a great year, but even if he has a great year, again, receivers are plentiful. I know that seems weird, but receivers are plentiful and they're always out there. Not everyone's a number one, but in certain offenses, you don't need a number one. You just need guys that can function, make contested plays. But Demarcus Robinson will be a free agent after next year. Of course, the guys after 2024, if they're still with the team through this year, would be Tutu Atwell. My guess is he's going to go back out on the market, right? If he doesn't survive this year, right? He'll be out on the market after the 2024 season. Bobby Brown, we need Bobby Brown this year. And that's why prior to all the signings, I think we were kind of playing with the idea, could the Rams surprise us and maybe take a defensive tackle, like a Byron Murphy or somebody? What they really need, though, is just a run stuffer. They just need a fat dude, right? A big, brutal guy, an Ashawn Robinson type. And Bobby Brown was much better last year, but he's going to be a free agent. How much money are the Rams going to want to give him? Ben Skoranek will be a free agent. I think we all like Brent Skoranek. I think Skoranek could end up staying because he knows what the Rams are. He's a little bit more like our Matthew Slater, right? He's going to be a special teams guy, but he can do a little bit of work in the offense. We've seen him. He's a legitimate, backup receiver in the NFL. He's a solid guy. He's gained the trust of not only McVay, but we've also seen Stafford go to him. So I don't think his departure would be a big loss, but I could see him staying. And then there's Hunter Long, and Hunter Long, we're going to know. Let's just say Tyler Higbee comes back. Let's say I'm butchering the tight end's name. It's Colby Parkinson, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. And Davis Allen. Let's just say they play up to snuff and are what we expect them to be. And Higbee comes back. Well, there's not going to be any room for Hunter Long, and it's another knee injury. And we'll see, right? Those guys could get hurt. Hunter Long could end up playing by midseason, but Hunter Long would be a free agent. And the Rams have already committed to Higbee. They've committed to Parkinson, and they've got Davis Allen under contract for 2 more years after this coming year. So Hunter Long would be a guy that goes bye-bye. Real quick here, I wanted to see a mock draft that happened right in the middle of the free agency period. I looked at the Sports Illustrated mock draft. Now, when I looked at it back in February, they had the Rams taking Latu from UCLA. This current one has the Bears taking Caleb Williams, number 1, the Taxkins taking Jaden Daniels, number 2, Drake May going to the Patriots, Marvin Harrison. Those first 4 are almost, fancy word, ubiquitous. Everybody is saying those 4. But they projected a trade that the Vikings now, with no Kirk Cousins, they would move up and make a move and draft J.J. McCarthy at number 5. J.J. McCarthy at number 5, which pushes Malik Neighbors to number 6 to the Giants, Rome Odunze, number 7 to the Bears, Dallas Turner going to the Falcons at 8, Joe Alt, the Titans at 9, who moved back after a trade with the Bears. Talisi Fuaga, the right tackle from Oregon State, going to the Jets at 10. That makes sense. The Chargers moving back with the trade with the Vikings to number 11 would be looking at Brock Bowers. And I think I could see Harbaugh making that move. The Cowboys taking Olu Fashanu from Penn State, replaced for Tyron Smith. Quinyon Mitchell, another mock draft showing him going to the Raiders at 13. The Saints taking Georgia Giant Amarius Mims, the tackle. Jared Verse going to the Colts at number 15. Seahawks taking Troy Fontenot at number 16. Jaguars taking Terrion Arnold, number 17. Bengals taking J.C. Latham, who's taken a hit. He was a top 10 projection when the draft season began, and he's fallen to the back of the draft. And then at number 19, SI still projects the Rams taking Leatu Latu, the edge guy from UCLA. And I was a scoffer for a long time, but I'm starting to warm to the idea that the Rams could be going after him. The Jackson Powers Johnson, everyone's favorite, going to the Steelers at number 20. That would be an excellent draft pick for Steeler fan Rob in Missouri. Byron Murphy, Texas, going to Dolphins at 21. Chop Robinson going to the Eagles at 22. Kool-Aid McKinstry going to the Texans at 23. Bo Nix falling all the way to 24, going to the Broncos. Broncos need a quarterback. Cooper DeJean to the Packers. Sorry, Mr. Burns and Stockton. Buccaneers, Graham Barton, the guard out of Duke. That would make sense because they've taken some hits along their offensive line. Nate Wiggins going to the Cardinals at 27. Brian Thomas to the Bills at 28. Michael Penix Jr. getting into the top 10 after a Raider trade that moved them back to 29, taking Michael Penix. Arizona tackle Jordan Morgan going to the Ravens at 30. The Ravens traded Morgan Moses. They lost John Simpson, traded Morgan Moses. Ronnie Stanley's always hurt. There's some interesting stuff happening with that offensive line in Baltimore, and it projects them taking a tackle here. Johnny Newton, Illinois' DT, going to the 49ers at 31. And I think they drank the Kool-Aid. I would not draft this guy at 32. The Chiefs being projected to take Xavier Worthy out of Texas. I see the Chiefs taking a receiver. I just don't see it being Xavier Worthy, but I could be wrong. All right. We've been looking at the Rams schedule. 49ers, Cardinals, Seahawks, Bears, Lions, Patriots, Jets, Saints. We've gone through, and Packers. We've gone through the list on all those teams and shared what we feel about them. Of course, a lot of this is when you play these guys, right? When do you play them? Rams are projected to play the Vikings this year. The Vikings at home and at SoFi, and the Vikings were 7-10 last year. They only have 2 picks in the first 100, pick number 11 and pick number 42. And Kirk Cousins has gone to Atlanta. They've taken Sam Darnold, but Sam Darnold doesn't feel like a long-term answer. So you are thinking they might go for a quarterback. It'll be interesting to see. They want to move up to get J.J. McCarthy. They've signed Aaron Jones. They've re-signed Brandon Powell. Remember Brandon Powell? One of the best kick returner in the last decade the Rams have had. He re-signed. What we really loved about Brandon Powell was how he's become an offensive player, how Kevin O'Connell has done it, and, of course, how Sean McVay used Brandon Powell in 2022. He's a good player. The Vikings are going to need help at edge because Daniel Hunter has moved on, so they'll be looking for an edge and a CB, a cornerback in the draft. And here's the thing, it's just hard to imagine the Vikings at number 11 letting a quarterback slip by. So you're thinking they are going to draft a quarterback, which might hurt them in the edge or cornerback department because they only got one other pick in the first 100. And they're going to need some special stuff to happen because the Packers and Lions are actual NFC championship contenders now. It's not a joke. They're contenders. And then they also not only have those 2 teams 4 times on their schedule, They have to play the Chiefs, the 49ers, and I think they're going to be facing a very improved Charger team, let alone the Rams. And I think they're going to need a lot of special to happen to get to 9 wins, and I don't think they're going to get there. I think it could be 8-9. Feels like 7-10 again in Minnesota, which is a shame because I don't think O'Connell's a bad guy. I think they're going to need another year, and I just think they're going to have a year of pain to reset and get where they want to be. Buccaneers, Chargers, Chiefs, 49ers, and Saints at home. Eagles, Panthers, Falcons, Broncos, Raiders, Bengals. That's another tough game on the road for them. And you think about the Vikings. They got to go to Green Bay. They got to go to Detroit. They got to play the Bears, and that's going to be a weather game, right? Let alone the Eagles, who are not going to be great, but they're going to be good. Panthers are a cakewalk. Falcons will be interesting with Kirk Cousins. Broncos are going to be better. I think the Raiders are going to be better. People are counting out the Raiders, and I think they're going to be better. That Christian Wilkins signing for the Raiders was huge. And then, of course, the Bengals with Joe Burrow. If Joe Burrow's upright, the Bengals are going to be tough. All right. I think we got through to it.
Stay in your lane, bro.
I am staying in my lane, but that was the wrong tape. It is a This Day in Rams history. Just real brief stuff here. Born on this day in 1951. Former Rams defensive back and punt returner Jackie Wallace, who began his career with the Minnesota Vikings, became a punt returner for the Rams. He was on the 79 team, and he turns, 73 today? I think I read something where Jackie Wallace had passed away. We'll check that. But Aaron Cox was the one I wanted to talk about. Aaron Cox is 59 today. Aaron Cox was drafted by the Rams, part of all those draft picks they had after the Eric Dickerson trade. In 1987, he was drafted first round, 20th overall in the 1988 draft out of Arizona State. He looked like, man, that's a great pick. Pair him up with Henry Ellard. He played 5 seasons with the Rams, played 71 games, only started 28, had 98 catches for 8 touchdowns. The problem for Aaron Cox was he wasn't very good. And the problem was on one side, it was Henry Ellard. And on the other side, it was Flipper Anderson. And it wasn't just a case of he had to get away to play. He played 5 seasons with the Rams, spent his last season in the NFL, I think in 93 with the Colts. I think it was the Colts. I'll take correction on that. Only caught about 5 passes, and then it was over. But he was a big disappointment. But here was the funny thing I remember about Aaron Cox is that everyone agreed he was a disappointment, but I don't remember people talking about his size. Aaron Cox officially was listed at 5'9", 174. And it just got me thinking about how, even people who want to compliment Tutu Atwell, even when they want to compliment Tutu Atwell, they just say there's not enough of him. To quote my friend Rich Whittington, there's not enough of Tutu Atwell. He's listed officially at 5'9", 165, probably lighter than that. But that's always an issue is Tutu Atwell's size. You don't talk about Tutu Atwell's hands. You can talk about his size and that limitation, but he makes plays. But I'll take Tutu Atwell over Aaron Cox. Aaron Cox, I think, was just a bust. And another example of how the Rams just butchered their drafting in the late 80s. And another reason why somebody should be held accountable, whoever put Don Klosterman on the sidelines after all that Don Klosterman did for the Rams from late 72 all the way through 1980 as the team's GM. There we go. I said it. I got it out. I got a Don Klosterman push in there. All right, guys, let's see if we have any other questions. Evan Holtz, you are doing a good job. Oh, man, dude, thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. How much would you pay Clowney? Of course, that's Neil Gonzalez says, how much would you pay Clowney? Steve Ramirez, $1. I would think Clowney, I think at one point Clowney was worth 8 rocks. I'd pay him 3 at most. I think he's a little bit more than the veterans minimum. He's a solid player. He's not a great player. I didn't forget he was number 1 overall, right? And yeah, I wouldn't pay him anything more than 3, no more than a 1-year deal. And you know what? He should be willing at this point, as teams move on from him every year, he should be willing, hey man, I want to chase a ring. I want to chase a ring. And so yeah, I wouldn't be upset if they brought him in. I'd be more upset if they brought in Chase Young. But yeah, if he wants to play for $1, right? I'll buy that for $1. But yeah, no more than 2.5 to 3 rocks. It's just where he's at right now. Steeler fan Rob, because they need linebackers and CBs. You need CBs, Steeler fan Rob, but inside linebacker, off-ball linebacker is not as critical a position in the NFL anymore, and he'll be nice. And there's doubts about Patrick Queen. I saw even on Steeler Media, as I was between meetings today, I saw Steeler Media talking about Patrick Queen was just a guy until Roquan Smith lined up next to him. And then he sucked up all the air that freed Patrick Queen. And there's people doubting and having a little concern that maybe you definitely overpaid for him. 3 years, 41 for an off-ball linebacker. That's insane. That's just absolutely insane. You're already overpaying for a safety who's very good, but it's insane to pay that much. Can't ignore defense. You have never ignored defense in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's never ignored defense. I applaud you 100%. But you haven't gotten it done. You know, you got an offensive line that took a better turn last year, but it never gets good enough. And you got to start putting some money in that offense. And is this true? Have they not extended Mike Tomlin? Is this it? Is this the last rodeo for Mike Tomlin? Steeler fan Rob, let us know. We will probably draft heavy on offense, Steeler fan Rob says. Okay, and most mock drafts lately have you guys going after Jackson Powers Johnson. And I applaud you if you guys get him. Okay, Manuel Correa, the guy that throws draft names at me that I haven't prepared for. How you doing, Manuel? Thank you so much for clicking on. Hope you guys are doing well. I think I got most of that out there. Does anybody, let me ask this question just before we go, and we'll give you guys a minute if you guys want to answer it. I made the mention about 2025 free agents, and I don't want to, I'm not guaranteeing anything next year, but let's just say the Rams make a run to the Super Bowl, right? Would you, at the age of 34, give Aaron Donald 3 more years at close to 40 rocks a season, 35, 36 rocks a season? Would you do that? It's Aaron Donald, right? It's Aaron Donald. But would you do that? What I would do is I would try to make Donald's window coincide with Matthew Stafford's window, because I don't want to pay for Aaron Donald huge money after Matthew Stafford retires, because after Matthew Stafford retires, they're going to have to find another quarterback that can keep them at this level. And we realize there are not many quarterbacks that are at this level. In the last 5 Super Bowls, Patrick Mahomes has won 3, Tom Brady's won 1, and the only other one there is Matthew Stafford. Prior to that, I think what you have is actually 6 Super Bowls, 2 of them going to Brady. Before that, fluke a little bit with Nick Folk. 16 was Brady. 15 was Peyton Manning, even though he was on his last fumes. 14 was Brady. 13 was Russell Wilson in his prime. 12, Joe Flacco. You could put Joe Flacco in that Nick Foles Nick Foles line there. And then 2011, Eli Manning, 2010, Aaron Rodgers, 2009, Drew Brees, 2008, Roethlisberger, 7, Eli Manning, right? So you don't get these odd guys winning Super Bowls. They have to be elite. And, of course, if Matthew Stafford had been around a better organization, he'd probably have more than just one. But would you extend Aaron Donald 3 years from 34 to age 36 if the Rams won a Super Bowl? Just curious to think what you have to say there. 2 more years. Bill, you would give him 2 more years. Steve Ramirez, I wouldn't draft a quarterback until 2025. Has anybody heard about oh, cool. Okay, we got about a minute here. Has anyone heard about Carson Wentz? I love seeing this market. I love seeing Jacoby Brissett going to New England. I love seeing Minshew going to Las Vegas. I love seeing these Sam Darnold go to Minnesota. I love seeing these markets dry up, right? So it makes it a little more like not Kirk Cousins, but Carson Wentz says, yeah, I think I'm going to stay in Los Angeles, right? How about Matthew Stafford plays 2 more years, Rams win 2 more Super Bowls, he retires, gets ready for the Hall of Fame, and Carson Wentz bridges us for 2 years. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Anyway, guys, I better roll. Steve, are you good with the Rams drafting a quarterback in the first 100? I'll let you answer that off the air. I hate leaving, guys, but I do have a kind of a golden rule here. I try to keep it at 50 minutes, and we're at 49:07 as I speak. but a lot of listeners, guys, a lot of nice talk, guys. Thank you so much for the compliments. I don't do graphics, guys. I'm trying to get to the graphic mode. I'm just not a graphic guy yet. And, people keep asking me to go on other shows. Guys, I'm a small potato, and somebody called me. Great. I'd love to talk, but I understand where I rank in this. Hopefully we're all going to go up together. But and then I don't have a partner, because it's better if I have a partner. If I don't have a partner, because then I can rap with you guys about the Rams. And so that's just where we're at. So check us out on Spotify. We have got a very minuscule footprint on Spotify. I think I only got 19 followers on Spotify. We just can't make a move there, but we've made our move here, and that's because of you guys. So we're Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I proved it yesterday. I can do a Rams supplemental, and if I feel like something like that is worth breaking in and doing 10-minute show, I'll do that on Tuesdays or Thursdays. But God bless. Thank you guys so much for clicking on, and I do appreciate all your support. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, notification button, and we'll go from there. Hate to leave, but I got to go. God bless. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.